The NBA world community mourns the loss of Greg's wife, Erin. Spurs assistant coach fills in, and there was a thick air in the arena in San Antonio on this game 3. Rudy Gay driving baseline kicks to LA and one at the rim, but not quite the energy you might expect in this moment from an old San Antonio team. And there's no big personnel move for the Spurs to make. They just don't have the roster to match up. KD doing what he does at the free throw line. I want to shout out Tony Parker, though. Rising out of nowhere for 16 points in 17 minutes. A burst from Tony in the first half to give the Spurs life. Kyle Anderson, slow motion. Rudy Gay with the hammer on Draymond Green. Would Draymond have an answer? And he gets his baskets off gravity. Peep the fake dribble, handoff, drive, gets all the way right, and DeJounte gets some mustard. Now, the story in this series has been Clay's ability to shoot all over San Antonio, and he continued to do so. He just didn't hit it at quite as high a clip in this game 3, as it was an ugly rhythm and pace. Not a lot of energy in this arena. KD doing what he does. That's light work. No chance for Rudy Gay. Fall away baseline. Now watch Clay put this man in the blender. He doesn't dunk it, though. You know, 3's more than 2, so he splashes. As the game wore on, the talent won out. KD getting to his spot. Forbes, it's like he wasn't even there. And then I'm never going to use Draymond and shooter's role in the same sentence, so he gets the effort roll off the front of the rim. 3 ball goes down. Kerr hits him with the shrug. I wonder where he got that from. More high pick and roll KD. Look at him retreating. They're not even getting out and challenging this. Not a lot of fight late in the game for the Spurs, and then this happens. KD rolls the ankle. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I stopped breathing. Now, if you take a look at the stands, that should give you a good idea whether or not this game was still competitive at this point in the fourth quarter. In the very next play, Shaun Livingston rolls his ankles. So a pretty good performance considering the circumstances from both teams. Warriors up 3-0, but at what cost? All right, y'all, so I went into this game circling this as the hardest game in the series, clearly, right? Game 3, when a team is down 2-0, historically is the game. If they're going to get a game, it's that game 3. Then the tragedy of Greg Popovich losing his wife in the last 24 hours. So I expected an emotional storm from the Spurs in that first quarter, and I thought the Warriors were really going to get blitzed and probably be facing a double-digit deficit headed into the second quarter. And clearly that just wasn't the case, right? And as the game went on and I thought about why that didn't take place, I think that Popovich, I think that the team is very reliant on Pop's presence, right? He is like the superstar of the team, especially without Kawhi there. And so missing him there affects a team more than any other team in the league. I think Pop's presence, it affects the Spurs more than any other team in the league. And I think the franchise, because of the longevity of Popovich's time there and the relationship with the city and the franchise and how close-knit it is, I think that it was just an emotional grieving that was too hard to bear on the team. I think that, and then, as well as if you look at it, young players tend to play on emotions, right? Younger players, because emotions are up and down. As you age and you become a veteran player, you don't rely on your emotions as much to play. You rely on your skills and your knowledge and your experience. And looking at the most experienced and aged team in the league, they weren't going to have that emotional juice, right? Not necessarily. I think they would have loved to have it, but that's just not their character at this point. I think it's very interesting. I think we'll never know this, but I just wonder if Kawhi reached out. Like if I was a team that was interested in acquiring Kawhi Leonard, and I'm sure he did. I don't know why my mind goes there with it, but it did. As far as did Kawhi reach out? Shouldn't Kawhi maybe show his face right now? And so I hope to God he at least communicated with Pop. I'm sure this last 24 hours has been overwhelming for him. But I just hope he did. And I feel like maybe show your face, dude. I think it just shows bad on him, but big picture, it doesn't matter. Who cares what Kawhi is doing? To to the game. So I expected a blitz. It never happened. It was really close. Terrible shooting both ways. The rhythm and the pace of the game, it just didn't feel like a playoff atmosphere. And that's why I go back to the grieving from this franchise in this city. I think the Warriors felt it. I think everybody in the arena felt it. There was just never that playoff atmosphere during this game. And I don't blame them. It just was what it was. And so talent prevailed, right? Kevon Looney and David West were huge off the bench. I think they were kind of the MVPs of the game as far as just their energy and 50-50 balls and physicality, right? No one could hit any shots. Down the stretch, what happened? You know what happened. Kevin Durant tweaks the ankle. And then right after that, Shaun Livingston tweaks his ankle. Patty Mills, I see you. And it's going to be, game 4 is going to be very desperate Sunday, right? I expect Pop to be there just based on what I know from him. He's such a fighter, right? And I expect him, but who knows? Either way, you're looking at a team where these are a lot of guys where, is this possibly the end of their career? Manu, Powell, I don't know what Powell's deal is, Parker, right? But there's a lot of guys here in the twilight, right? So they're going to leave it all on the floor at game 4 Sunday, and it could be a very physical, dangerous game. Now back to KD tweaking the ankle. KD, I've brought this up before. He wears his Durants. Remember when he had the foot problems in OKC? Ever since then, he's been wearing them loose, and his shoe comes off like every other game, right? And if you watch, a lot of the time when he plants down after jumping or whatever, his shoe will start to roll over like that. So I don't think KD's sprain may be as bad as it appeared. And then you also just read his body language, right, after it. And I think that his elasticity in his ligaments is very good. And you can tell from his build, right? He's so lanky and lean. You would expect him to be very dexterous. And so, it's going to be a tweak. He's going to need to ice it. It's going to be swollen. It'll probably be stiff, but I don't think it's that serious. I think Shaun's looked worse. And, but I understand there's two philosophies with this, but if you ask me, the biggest knock on Steve Kerr as a coach is his rotations, right? You love him as a motivator, as an X's and O's guy, and as an ego manager amongst superstars, right? He's almost the full package. If I were to knock him, it would be the rotation. And I am of the school of thought that you clear the bench when the game is over. Now, you say, when's the game over, Alchemy? When's the game over, right? Well, it was under 5 minutes with a 15-point lead. And this is where it's a judgment call of you have to read the feel of the game. I believe the announcer said, this one feels over, right? I'll tell you when the game was over. The game was over when David West batted the ball out for 3 consecutive offensive rebounds and Clay ended up banging down a 35-footer. That was it. That was the throat slash in game 3. And so you have to coach the feel of the game. The game was over. And Durant, Clay, and Draymond were all out on the floor. And that's why you clear the bench, because you can never account for these freak type of things. And when they happen, especially later in games, when guys' egos and emotions get the best of them. Patty Mills, the defeat is setting in for him psychologically, and he's flailing and diving all over the floor recklessly. That's why you get your stars out, Steve Kerr. Now, moving forward, everybody's going to be chipped up. This is the playoffs. This is going to happen. It could have happened in the first quarter. You say, that's fine. But I'm saying that's why you take them out. The least amount of time on the floor equals the least amount of risk of injury moving forward. So, like I said, I feel like KD's is less severe than Shaun's. But I hope it's a lesson learned to Steve Kerr, because the game was dead. The fight was taken out of San Antonio. There was no reason to have them in. Put Bell, Damian, Nick Young. That's why you have an end of the bench for those situations. Moving forward, like I said, game 4, I still don't know if it's a sweep. I think they're going to leave everything out on the floor, and I expect an emotional return of Greg Popovich in San Antonio. It may be a sight to be seen, right? And looking ahead to round 2. Here come them New Orleans Pelicans, man. Them Pelicans is looking spooky. You know your boy is going to break down that matchup when it comes. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but until then, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.